Hello and welcome to Warcraft Daily for today, the 20th of October 2013. As always, the Sunday show is going to be a recap of what's went on this week. So we have a bunch of PvE stuff, some PvP stuff, Heroes of the Storm, Connected Realms, and the Battlechest. All in all, pretty good week actually for the news. So for PvE, first thing which you probably noticed is Flexbang 4 came out. I highly suggest hopping in if you can. I haven't had the chance. But you can kill Garrosh, get a chance of your epic, well not your epic, your heirloom, which is really awesome. And will do you up to level 100, which would be quite nice. So there's that. Also, LFR was quite substantially nerfed, with a lot of creatures like Kor'kron Dark Shaman having a lot of their abilities pretty much just nerfed into the ground. In Spoils of Pandaria, the mob's health was reduced. I'm not exactly sure by how much. Another example, this is for normal mode. In 10-man normal, Galakras, the mobs in it had their health nerfed. Once again, they didn't say how much by on the patch notes, but overall, you just should feel a bit more of a smooth difficulty curve. On LFR, especially Wing 2 was quite challenging, so it probably does make sense that they nerfed a little bit for those mechanics. While it would be nice to, say, make a challenge and then have people rise to it, that works really well in like a professional work environment, but it doesn't really work well when it's people's free time and they just want to get a thing done. So it's better just for everyone that it's smooth instead of being full of wipes and bullshit. That said, I'm sure there'll still be plenty of wipes and bullshit, so you won't miss out on that. Now, another thing is about RNG and smart loot. This was all the talk yesterday, and there's a good lot of the 15-minute show was spent on that. But basically, there's the sort of eternal argument between how much do we let our RNG be random? So do we have RNG that's padded by, say, every time you lose a drop or lose a drop chance, your chance increases by, say, 10%, just like it is for the bonus rolls. And then smart loot, the idea of, say, only loot that's useful to you, that would drop for you, things like that. And basically, Blizzard's stance is they want to keep it being more of the RNG kind of spectrum, because that makes each piece of loot exciting, and smart loot makes it far too predictable, and that just takes away a lot of interest in downing a boss and waiting to see if you get that cool gear. That's definitely something I kind of respect, I understand it. Honestly, I see kind of in between the two. I think smart loot, it should only be smart in the sense that if you're saying like a 10-person raiding group, that you should probably, you shouldn't get gear that can't be used by anyone there. It wouldn't hurt the disenchanting market that much. And a lot of the reason why it's harder to progress in 10-man is because often we don't have a comp that's like one of every class or one of every sort of loot role, which means that a lot of loot just gets DE'd. And I know that there's a bit of a difference between 10 and 25, but I don't really think that being artificially a little bit screwed on some pieces of gear is really a compelling part of gameplay and a reason to differentiate the two difficulties. So yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, basically smart loot, it's something that needs to be used very carefully. I think perhaps LFR could use with a little bit of smart loot in that, well, as you know, with your bonus rolls, every time that you fail a bonus roll, your chance of the next bonus roll giving you a piece of gear increases. Now, I wouldn't have it so that the piece of gear you get is definitely like an upgrade, but I have it so that when you kill a boss normally and you don't make the drop, or you don't get a thing, then that should increase your drop chance from the next LFR boss. I think that's a quite a fair way to do it, and it means that the more people put into LFR, the more they can get out, and that seems like quite a fair reward structure. Now, the next thing that was on the, well, the final thing really about the PvE talk was flex scaling. A lot of people were realizing that in flexible difficulty, sometimes there's breakpoints for certain mechanics. What I mean is, depending on the amount of people you have there, a mechanic may be harder or easier. A great example is Malkorok. Now, one of his things is that he puts a bunch of void zones on the floor. Now, for a 10-person raid, there's 3 of them, so if you were to scale your flex rate up a little bit, then you get to the point where maybe Malkorok, it's not like you can spawn 3.5 or 3.7 of these void zones. So that just means that there's naturally kind of, on a boss-per-boss basis, little kind of niche amounts of players that are slightly better. Honestly, I don't see this as being the massive problem that some people are talking about, because at the end of the day, the flex loot, if you're the kind of guild that is willing to start messing around with your comp to make these bosses marginally easier, then honestly you should be raiding normals. What are you doing in flex? It's not really for you. Flex is just for jumping in with your friends and still having, relatively challenging content, which is fun, and that's what it should be. I love flex. Haven't done much of it, but I love what it does. It's not catered for me, but for those who it is catered to, I think it's probably the single best system they've put in this expansion. For sure. Now for PvP, so all the talk of the PvP has been the new dampening mechanic, CCs, DRs, and the new PvP summit that's going to be happening soon in the Blizzard headquarters. So first of all, DRs, diminishing returns, they posted on the forums a giant list of all the different spell categories and things which stack together for diminishing returns. And basically the way diminishing returns work are that, say if 2 stuns are done within a 15-second period, I think the second stun, I think it's 50% shorter or something like that. Don't quote me on the specific numbers, but essentially the more that you're hit by the CC of the same type, the less potent each subsequent one will be. Which is quite a good system because it means that you can't get stun locked for ridiculous amounts of time. That said, and this really goes on to our next point about Blizzard's stance on CC at the minute, there's just so much damn CC that you may as well be completely stun locked for a lot of the time. Right now, the problem is that there's lots of instant silences, instant CCs, not enough of them in my opinion are tied to skill shots, which means that there's less skill in it, obviously, and it's too easy to shut people down and shut their plans down, and I don't really think that's conducive to fun gameplay. Of course, CC, as Blizzard says, is still a really important part of Warcraft PvP, but I think they went a little bit overboard. Now, the good news is they said in the next expansion they're planning on reworking CC to make it less frequent, which is a good thing, and they're also working on making diminishing returns make a lot more sense, because at the minute they make sense, but when you need to go and look at a giant post that's like 7 posts long in their forums to work out how diminishing returns work, I don't think that means that you have a very good mechanic. So the next thing is the PvP dampening mechanic and how this works with stealth. So the dampening mechanic is that after 10 minutes, the amount of healing taken by anyone in the arena will decrease by 1% every 10 seconds. So this means that as the fight goes on, everyone is nerfed in the exact same manner, which means that the fight is a little bit more kind of knife-edged, it's easier to die, and that means that there are less games which end up as a draw. Now, the problem with this is Necrotic Strike, which apparently they're working on, and then Stealth. You could just stealth, right, to get out of this. So apparently they're putting in some stuff with the way you collect shadow orbs and things like that to stop it, so that a double rogue group can't just cheese this sort of thing until the other team has got way, 50% reduced healing, and the rogues can just pop in and nuke them down. So there's that. And finally there's the PvP Summit. They're inviting a whole bunch of high-ranked, skilled PvP players to the Blizzard headquarters, and for this, essentially, they're just going to talk about a lot of different things. A little bit of class balance, but mainly about new features, gameplay, how they should be taking PvP forward. I probably went into this in more detail in the last video, but essentially I just think that they should be adding more things for PvP beyond, oh look, a new battleground, a new arena, because you're only going to get that new arena every 8 times, or the new battleground. If you're only doing 1 or 2 battlegrounds a day, it could be ages until you see the new one, and does it really add much more interesting gameplay? No, it doesn't. I think the next expansion needs a Wintergrasp style thing. Honestly, I have a little bit of an idea, which I'll probably go into more, but essentially it's a more formalized form of world PvP that doesn't rely on a Wintergrasp timer. So say there's a location and on that island or whatever, the Alliance and Horde are constantly in a fight, so that as the expansion goes on, there can be new things added to this war that the PvP players can engage in, which means that they have their high-end content that doesn't involve going in a queue. Essentially their version of raiding, I guess, which I think would be really cool, and it would be open world, so that probably comes with its own unique balancing challenges. Anyway, I think that's all that stuff covered, so let's get on to the other kind of things. So, Connected Realms, 5 new Connected Realms were, they weren't released, but they were planned, I suppose, this week. This signifies a lot more Connected Realms coming. Previous to this, I think we've only had 2 or 3, but now they're doing it in batches of 5, and it's all US at the minute, but to me this pretty much says they're going to be doing these more, there's going to be more being turned on at once, and I just think it's great. Let's roll this system out to everyone before the next patch, and hopefully it will make the game better. Honestly, I'm in a medium pop server. I would love to be in a high pop server, because it looks like a bunch of fun having people around the place. I know that comes into problems with, say, Timeless Isles, but I still personally prefer the world feeling alive to having a little bit more competition. So that's the thing. Next of all, that's not even a phrase, we have, not Heart of the Swarm, Heroes of the Storm and BlizzCon. So Heroes of the Storm has been announced as being Blizzard's new game. It's essentially Blizzard All-Stars. It's a Dota-like game which involves lanes, heroes attacking each other, just like League of Legends or Dota or something like that. We know pretty much no details about it, and we're going to find out a lot more at BlizzCon. And speaking of BlizzCon, we found out their schedule. The schedule is very heavy. It's interesting, it's very heavy in World of Warcraft. There's only 1 StarCraft panel, 4 Diablo panels. I'm guessing we're going to find out more solid things about the Reaper of Souls for Warcraft, obviously the new expansion, which means it's going to be pretty much a WoW-filled BlizzCon. Which is very good in my opinion, because WoW-filled BlizzCons are generally the ones that I enjoy the most, and it also means I will have lots of great content. Wow. Voice fucking up. I'll have lots of great content to bring to you on that weekend, in which I will not be sleeping and I'll be making videos constantly. Yay. So after that, the final thing to talk about is the World of Warcraft Battlechest. It's dead, it's no longer a thing, and now it's just called plain old World of Warcraft. And it includes everything up to Cataclysm for, is it like $20, £10, something, I don't know, relatively cheap, comes with a free month, the usual thing. Now, my problem is that they call this thing World of Warcraft, and it doesn't include all of World of Warcraft. In my opinion, if you want to get people in the door, you don't say, hey, you need to buy these 2 box copies and they only come with a free month. In my opinion, it should be either that the Battle Chest comes with a free month and then Mists of Pandaria comes with a free month, or you just get the one Battle Chest package, which includes every expansion for the game and 1 free month. That way, people buy one thing, they're in the game, that's it. They're getting their subscription. I think that's the best way to do it, and just the best way to get people into the game. It makes the most sense. I think it's really confusing to have the Battle Chest and then this extra expansion thingy. It just confuses people, and that's not what you want. You don't want to confuse people when they're trying to make a purchase decision on your product. So anyway, that's it for today's show. A little bit of a longer recap, but yeah, I kind of like the format. I've switched it up a little bit. I want to see if I can do PvP and PvE in 2 sort of separate sections, and then go through what happened in relation to both over the week, and I think that's a little bit more of a listenable format for you guys. Anyway, that's it for the show. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and with that, I'll see you next time.